Guys, I know you kind of wanted to hear the poem I wrote because you weren't there for the event yesterday, and I thought it would be really cool if I just kind of like made a video of me saying it. Plus, I kind of wanted to hear myself, how I sounded and all that. So, yeah, just I'm reading it off my iPod, so you might see me occasionally like doing like this because I didn't memorize it. So, okay, here I go. I wish I had her number so I can call and tell her not to bother. You can tell throughout her whole life she has not had one dependable father. What she doesn't know eats her from the insides out, trying to pry love out of him like a dog, crawling on all fours, puppy eyes. He has her on a leash, and me? I sit back and watch like a spectator, not knowing what's coming next, but she takes that criticism gracefully like she don't know any better. He is her master and she is the submissive, submitting to his immoral ways, bowing down to him like a slave, but what she didn't know was that he wasn't worth it. He had other girls that he thought of more perfect, and her, she was just a booty call. It's funny how a man can be what you want him to be, but she wasn't appalled. She took it. Every stroke became deadly, and the darkness consumed her soul. He used her like a wet rag and consumed her whole, and like a snake, he strangled the life from her, took a mini bite of her. When he was all finished, he told her she needed to go home. But little did he know her house was not a home, but a dark pit. She tries to put together her life, but the pieces don't fit. And if you have been doing puzzles as long as I have, it don't make sense. To the point where I felt bad for her. I feel a knot in my stomach, whirling around, coiling my intestines. I watched this homicide and felt destined to save her soul. She was in knee deep. He had already made love to her mind till her body couldn't do without him. That night I watched as tears filled up to the rim of her eyes, and it's true that in a near-death experience you see your childhood go by. What struck me was that when she left, he didn't even say bye. The anguish took over her mentally. That makes depression a factor. Oh, my bad. Anguish is a severe mental or physical suffering, and that's what he caused. The reason she won't trust another man, well, that's his fault. I wish I had her number so I can call and tell her not to bother. Not to bother with the atrocities of love. Love is an intense feeling of deep affection, and affection is a gentle feeling of fondness or liking. Nor was he fond, and his affection was only sexual, only to leave her standing there butt naked, hands shaking, and goosebumps for a pack of wolves. He didn't want to learn her intellectually, and love wasn't in his dialect. Instead, he wanted to use his propulsive force and obliterate her body sexually. You can tell that she has not had one dependable father to tell her right from wrong, or to sing that no boys till you're 40 song. Instead, she uses men as her father figure. She doesn't know any better. She's drowning into his pool of existence and only getting wetter. He said, I love you too, but is it love or lust? You erect, get hard, and only nights when you want to fuck, but she takes it thankfully for the fake love you gave. But when it's all said and done, she crawls right back into her cave. That cave is where she feels non-existent. The darkness not only consumes her, but her tears turn to acid. It burns through her flesh, leaving her bitterless and passive. Every piercing on her body defines the mark. The mark that every man left on her skin. The way they pierce through her physically and mentally, leaving nothing but a hole. It's deep and hollow, and all that depression follows. And every puff pass represents the way she inhales the insult. She takes it like a champ, goes in her hole, revamps, and then she's ready for more. You broke, got no job, can't even take her to the store. Every time I think of her, my heart stops. You walk all over her like you're in a field filled with dead crops. Those crops, they represent her soul. So many people have stepped on it, it's no longer a whole, but scattered. Pieces are all over, and it takes a real man to find them. And him, he was the leading cause of death for desperate women, cutting them open slowly while the fountains of blood spew out. He didn't understand their pain. Whether or not he cared, I doubt. The end.